Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Smart Protein Summit 2020. Hope you had a productive networking break. My name is Siddharth Bhide. I work as the Science and Technology Specialist at the Good Food Institute India, and it's my pleasure to host a panel now with the founders of plant based Indian startups who are at the frontier of innovation. We have with us today three pioneers laying the groundwork for the entire plant based categories in the country and one bold venture seeking to make advanced manufacturing simple. Please welcome our panelists today. First, we have with us Abhishek Sinha. Abhishek is the co founder and CEO of Good Dot, a chemical engineer and an ex senior taxation bureaucrat. Abhishek has wide expertise in strategic alignment, product development, process engineering, and regulatory landscape. The ethical benefits of a plant based lifestyle are the major driving force behind Good Dot's activities. With a focus on taste, price, and shelf life of its products at room temperature, Good Dot has a unique and distinct approach to mainstream meat alternatives across the globe. Welcome, Abhishek.
Thanks a lot, Siddharth. Pleasure being here.
We also have with us Abhay Rangan. Abhay is the founder of Good Milk, which is one of India's leading plant-based dairy companies. Abhay has been a champion of animal rights in India since the age of 16. After running a successful non-profit focused on veganism throughout his teen years, Abhay launched Good Milk in 2016 with a mission of making affordable cruelty-free dairy alternatives. Abhay originally created each Good Milk product with his mother in their home kitchen, but their plant-based foods now reach thousands of families across the country. Abhay has been named on the Forbes 30 Under 30 India and Asia list for his excellent work. Welcome, Abhay.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Siddharth, and thanks for having me here. Really excited to be a part of this.
Thank you, Abhay. We also have with us Akanksha Ghai, who is the co-founder at Veg Foods, a dreamer, entrepreneur, nature lover, mother, and a passionate foodie. These are the many facets that come together to define Akanksha. A deep and abiding interest in healthy living, nutrition, and diet led her to pursue a degree in nutrition and dietetics. The ill effects of animal protein on health are subjects that are of particular interest to her. As a co-founder of Veg Foods, a company specializing in plant-based proteins, Akanksha is pursuing her vision of good health for all, including the planet, by creating products that are high on nutrition, wholesomeness, health, and taste quotients. Welcome, Akanksha.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. I'm humbled to be here.
Thank you. And finally, we also have with us Gaurav Sharma, who's the co-founder and CEO at Greenest, which is bringing plant-based foods to the market. Gaurav was once one of the youngest qualified chartered accountants in the country, and now with Greenest, he's on a mission to bring about a mammoth change in the way people consume protein and wants to contribute in building the plant-based food space in India by creating the next generation of plant-based meats to improve nutrition, taste, and environmental footprint of our food. Welcome, Gaurav.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you for having me. Excited.
Perfect. So let's start off with a panel and let's start off with a round of questions about what each of you do. But before that, let me just share my screen, which has your product portfolio or which shows the services that you offer, so that our audience is familiar, if they are already not familiar with your companies. So one second. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start off with you, Abhishek. You have been a leader in the plant-based foods movement in India for the last several years with Good Dot and more recently Good Do. Many in the audience already know you and are familiar with your work, but could you give us an overview of your journey and where you stand today?
Sure. Thanks, Siddharth and GFI team for having me here. Actually, Good Dot is we have the company which was formed in 2016. Our first commercial product was launched in 2017. We are into manufacturing of plant-based meat, and we are right now supplying all over India. We have also started some international countries, markets, which you will be seeing in the next few months, the rollouts. We also have another sister company which is called Good Dot Foods, which is into fast food vegan outlets called Good Do. Good Do is a goat we rescued from a slaughterhouse. So he's the mascot of that company. And till date, right now we have around 10 outlets across two cities, Mumbai and Udaipur. A few more cities will be planned in the months ahead. So in terms of when we started out, it was at a very nascent stage, the plant-based meat industry in India, but it was maturing very fast outside India. And we did feel while within the core team, we thought that this is an amazing platform and India can be potentially the dark horse of this entire plant-based meat industry. We have woken up late, but I can tell you from the responses what we are getting from the ground up. I think it won't be long where we'll be one of the leading nations in acceptance of plant-based meat. So we are quite excited to be on this journey, and it's a team effort. It's not just me. We are 144 of us who are working in Good Dot, and we are working to mainstream plant-based meat in India and also abroad. So this is where we are right now. Yeah.
Thank you, Abhishek. And all of us in India and abroad are looking forward to tasting Good Dot's products.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Moving to you, Abhay, Good Milk has been a leading startup in plant-based foods focused on dairy segment for several years now. Would you tell us about how far you have come since the early days, which I'm sure feels a little surreal to you, and what the plans are from where you are now?
Thank you, Siddharth. In our earliest days, everything was different. Even our thesis to product development was different. When we started out, the idea was to make plant-based food affordable and accessible. And to us, that really just meant making cheap plant-based dairy alternatives. Overall, that theme has evolved since, and today we're also focused on making plant-based products that are functional and can replace dairy. This is a harder problem to solve because there's a lot more parameters that we're solving for. But that also brings questions like shelf life, what type of packaging are we delivering, what type of experience are we crafting around our products that make it as frictionless for the user as possible. To that end, we've developed a subscription system that users can subscribe to all over the country. And essentially the ultimate goal, something we're already trying in Bangalore, where we deliver milk, curd and other products, butter and mayo, all of them are plant-based, and all of our products are shelf-stable except for our curd, which is a cold chain product. We're trying to deliver these products early in the morning, just like your milkman. And not only is the experience of that familiar with respect to how the product tastes and feels, but the whole experience around even getting the product, interacting with the packaging, subscribing to these products, because dairy is one of the largest subscription businesses in the country, and we're trying to solve for that. So the ultimate goal is to remove as much friction from the plant-based dairy switching process as possible by creating experiences that remind users of dairy. And this translates not only from product packaging and distribution, but also hopefully at one point price.
Thank you, Abhay. Perfect. So moving on to you, Akanksha, as Varun was mentioning earlier, that manufacturing is one of the key bottlenecks in India, and you are trying to solve for that with your company, B-Veg Foods. Could you tell us more about your company and the product lines that you'll be targeting?
Sure. Thank you so much for your question, Siddharth. I would just like to talk about our background first. We hail from a business family which has a food and agro-processing background of a cumulative 70 years now. As a group, we keep on seeking newer opportunities in the food sector, which are more sustainable and future-proof. And we found plant proteins to be one of the very important sectors and to our interest as well. To more, in order to know more on it, me and my husband Pratik Ghai traveled across the globe and found that a lot of ingredient players out there are offering best quality raw material, but none of them are offering end-to-end solution if we talk about, which means ideation to the product stage, to the commercialization stage. We are there to fill the gap for the Indian international market for this segment. Bewitch Food is envisioning to provide high standard plant protein based products for the global markets. We are aiming to be one stop shop solution for all the plant based products in India. It is meant to support a lot of startups, SMEs to enhance their speed to the market. We've got a dedicated team of food technologists to support our process of product development. At the same time, our upcoming state of art facility would be there to support the scaling up and the commercialization and private labeling. We foresee a lot of acceleration, if I talk about a lot of acceleration development of this segment when our facility is going to be up in there, which is planned to be mid of next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Akanksha. And again, this is very exciting, and we are looking forward, and pretty sure the entire ecosystem is looking forward to this bottleneck to be solved soon. Moving to you, Gaurav, with Greenest, you are planning to launch, few products in the plant-based food segment, starting off with different types of kebabs. Could you tell us more about Greenest and the product portfolio that you'll be offering?
Thank you, Siddharth. So with Greenest, we are planning to get into the pipeline a varied number of products. We are beginning with kebabs. So we've got about 5 or 6 SKUs, with different flavors, and then we've got keema. So now the good part is that we've duped so many people into actually believing that they're having meat that it's not funny. I mean, we've done a back and forth consumer tests, and we've worked very rapidly with a whole lot of institutional experts, like chefs and product development teams, and they've given us this kind of feedback that I think now we are in a good space to get into the market and just thrive. So to begin with, we are thinking of getting into Delhi. That's the plan, and then we'll sort of have a product market fit here before extrapolating it to other cities. And the plan for the next 12 months is to get into at least 8 to 10 cities in the country and have a very robust pipeline of products in the distribution. So that's what Greenest is planning to do. Yeah.
Thank you, Gaurav. And we are all looking forward to tasting your products in the market soon. Perfect. So I'll stop sharing my screen now, and we'll move on with the rest of the panel. One second. Okay, so let's start off, question for both Abhay and Abhishek. You guys have been in the market for some time now, and you've had to deal with many hurdles along the way. We've talked about how new markets in India have fundamental challenges across product development, pilot scale manufacturing, market testing, distribution, and even regulations. What would you say are the biggest challenges that you have faced across these areas? And maybe Abhay, you can go first, and then Abhishek, you can give your insights.
Sure thing, Siddharth. Thank you. I think our biggest challenge has been commercializing from a home to a pilot facility and then to a larger facility after that. At that point, we didn't have access to the talent that we have today, the pioneering people that have developed the products in commercial facilities. So our biggest challenge was at its initial stages trying to figure out how to convert our batch from making 10 liters at home to even 2000 liters in a pilot facility. To that end, we found a facility that was able to manufacture liquid, shelf-stable liquid products at a small scale, but that came with many challenges, including cost and so on. So what eventually transitioned, when we eventually transitioned to Tetra Pak, which was a big gap because the minimum volumes are higher, etc. I think that initial phase from getting to your first plant and then graduating to a plant that you can call a home and then scale up your product to a considerable level in, I think that was the hardest part for us. And of course, now lately, I think there are some regulatory challenges we're facing with, this is not implemented yet, of course, but the FSSA is looking at branding milk analogs, preventing plant-based dairy companies from using the terms MYLK or milk or soy milk, etc., to term milk analogs. And that I think that is one regulatory challenge that we will continue to deal with. But I think manufacturing has been our biggest challenge from our early days to now, which we have solved with the Tetra Pak facility. But that's been our key bottleneck from our early days.
Got it. Abhishek, would you like to add on to Abhay's answer?
I think in the not just in India, across the globe, the major first hurdle of the alternative industry is the technical part. How do you really get a product which mimics the animal products? And that is the fundamental point. There are no plug and play formats available. You will have some leads in equipment manufacturers and all that, but those are just on the basic level. It is not exactly like meat or milk or whatever alternatives you're making. The first point, of course, is the technical part. So that requires a lot of effort, both from a technical as well as effort and financial perspective. That's the first part. Once you are able to do that and you have a product which mimics the animal alternative, so to say, then comes the awareness part. That's the biggest. You are not just creating a different line of product, you are creating an entirely new category. So that is the most important part, and that requires, if you have, say, a diverse country like in India, where people have different palates, different eating habits, different socioeconomic background. How do you reach to the masses and inform them that there are this alternative, there are the benefits of these alternatives, and they can try it out? So of course, the technical part. Secondly, I would say, of course, the awareness part. And the third, I would say, scaling part, which Abhay did mention. Thankfully for us, right from the very first day, our distributor needed products in big volume. So we started out at medium scale. So for us, scaling up was not a bigger challenge, but I can visualize for a lot of companies, scaling up to tons and tons of production per day will bring in different significant challenges. So these are the three primary aspects what I feel will be a challenge across. Yeah.
Thank you, Abhay and Abhishek. So I have actually lost power. So we have Shardul Dabir, who's our backup moderator. Shardul, would you want to take over till the power is restored for me?
Yeah, absolutely, Siddharth. Just give me a second. All right, great. So my next question is actually for Gaurav. Gaurav, can you tell me one of the major challenges that people usually highlight, just as Abhay and Abhishek did right now, fundamental infrastructure for product development. And this is usually relevant for startups at smaller scale or pilot scale. So when you're trying to conduct experiments and get customer feedback and improve your products, how has somebody in your position dealt with all of this?
So I think, and I've been talking about this time and again. I think at the helm of things in this sector, there's this technology called high moisture extrusion cooking. Now, there are dime a dozen extruders in the country, but the kind of extruders that we guys look for, they are hardly available. I mean, workable extruders aren't available. So in fact, thanks to Akanksha, Pratik and the team, that they've taken that daunting task upon themselves to really get that piece sorted. So I wouldn't like to name them, but there are a few, big ticket mass market giants in the country who have got access to the kind of equipment that I'm talking about. We did get in touch with them too, because we wanted to, do some R&D along with them. But we soon realized that due to, a plethora of reasons, that's not where their focus or their priorities are. So to begin with, yes, extrusion is something which we are really, looking at. I mean, that's the Achilles heel, I think, of this industry. You use a suboptimal extruder, you get a suboptimal quality product. So for a good quality product, I think that sort of technology needs to be in place. The other thing which we faced was, again, I mean, the problem was of scale was there. So we were initially, focusing on getting, working along with institutions, and we were in touch with a lot of food service players and HoReCa players. However, unfortunately, due to coronavirus, that took a backseat, and a lot of institutions themselves, in fact, downsized. So then we changed our course, and we thought that, now let's get into the consumer's home. That's where the consumer is sitting. So the strategy changed, and now our go-to-market is to get into the retail, in the retail play. The other thing which I think is important is distribution. I mean, if we, a robust distribution system is, has to be at the core of, of a consumer goods company, the core of the business model. So, for example, our products being, frozen. I mean, we really found out that the kind of quality that we would like to deliver, or the kind of experience that we would like to deliver to the end consumer, we were not able to achieve that when, we were deviating away from having a product which is not frozen. So distribution, again, is a challenge, and we are trying to sort out all those pieces, and hopefully, and with the, with the support of the ecosystem and a lot of other, mission aligned entrepreneurs in various different cities, I think we all can come together and solve those problems. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we are all hoping for, more collaboration with relevant value chain stakeholders so that, some of these problems can be addressed soon. Akanksha, my next question is for you. There was a lot of talk, obviously, around lack of equipments, especially when it comes to manufacturing and high moisture extrudeds. And we have all talked about that, right? And we'll discuss a lot of these issues in the coming days as well. So Natasha from Venga also mentioned a little bit about that. Could you tell us, Akanksha, like entrepreneurs like yourselves, when you start out, you shouldn't have to build all of this, in the smart protein sector. So what is the major difficulty in getting the ball rolling when it comes to setting up this manufacturing capacity in India for smart protein sector, especially in the post pandemic era?
Okay, so the major problems, if I talk about, we started in pursuing our dreams sometime in Q4 last year. But however, due to the pandemic, it has hampered our speed of the project, if I say at least by 6 months, if not more. We couldn't travel to meet the potential customers and understanding their trends and patterns and the demand, which was the foremost important thing here. At the same time, for the machinery and equipment suppliers, we couldn't run trials on their pilot plants before finalizing our right product mix and the capacities. Especially in this case, in this project like ours, where there's a lot of long-term investment, high capex, which is involved. It's difficult to do. It's difficult to get into those decisions on remote consultations. On the team front, also, if I would say, we had a hard time in recruiting a fresh batch of students because the physical interviews were not possible. But with all the effort and hard work together, we've recruited fresh students from the campus, but they could put the prototype development only probably a month from now, a month before now. So we're just hoping to catch up on the lost time as things improve. If I would talk about our center of excellence, would entail high moisture extruder as well as downstream equipment to make form products like patties, kebab, nuggets, etc. We're also planning to establish a cold chain to keep the products under ideal conditions, just like fresh meat. As Gaurav mentioned, doing something new always comes with its own set of challenges, as we all know. Plus, considering the pandemic, the overall pace has slowed down a bit. From setting the R&D team, ordering machinery, to setting up the plant, everything is taking a little longer than usual, if you understand. The restricted domestic and international travels have also presented few challenges for us. But we're moving steadily forward, working on our timeline and making a good headway, I would say. We're doing our best to take this forward as soon as possible, as fast as possible, to build up an entire ecosystem and support a lot of entrepreneurs and companies as much as we can.
Yeah, makes complete sense. And I think, you setting up a co-manufacturing business focused on that, a lot of relevant entrepreneurs, and we get this all the time, right? People who are looking to collaborate. I think it's going to really accelerate the growth of this ecosystem. So really glad for that. I think we can go back to Abhay for our next question. Abhay, you've personally obviously had a very interesting journey, and Siddharth talked a little bit about that. Can you tell us about a couple of things, maybe one key thing that you've completely changed your mind about along this journey in the past couple of years, 3 years? Any core beliefs or business principles that you now espouse that you probably did not expect, at a younger age when you started the business?
Great question, Shardul. I think for me, because I ran a non-profit before this, it was a grassroots network of community organizers who, people my age, who came together and launched campaigns around the country. I think moving to a for-profit sort of setup really felt like a sellout, right? I sold into the capitalist machine. That was sort of my thoughts at that point. And for me, it was learning to accept that capitalism and money were really powerful tools that we could use to scale our impact. And really, I think that was the fundamental belief that changed. And a lot of things changed with it, right? One was that my own assumption that activists are supposed to be angry. If you want to make a positive impact on the planet, you need to be aggressive, you need to be confrontational, you need to be out there all the time, and there's very little room for your own happiness. These are things that change. And I think now, especially seeing people, very effective people like the ones we have on our panel that I'm very lucky to share this stage with, realizing that you can be effective, you can be happy, and you use the tools that are available in our system today, in our society today, and really build massive impact, or have the potential to build massive impact. I think that has been a very key shift in my beliefs, and the one I'm continuing to explore every day. I think what has sort of guided Goodmill's growth has been, or at least limited it from growing much further, has been my own limitations in my mind about how further we can go on certain principles, or how risky we can be, or how capitalist we can be about it. And every day is a journey in realizing that it being done the right way, bringing community together, taking them along with your journey, making sure your values are still there, and using these systems to really scale your impact. I think that's the sort of journey I'm on now, and that's been pivotal for me.
Makes sense, Abhay. Siddharth, would you like to continue?
Yeah, thank you, Abhay, for the answer. And it's very interesting, the answer what you just gave, and it's also important to constantly keep changing, trying to keep your company's goals in mind, to keep the impact you want to have in mind, and then progress ahead. And sorry about that, there was a power cut in the area 11. So moving on, Gaurav, let's talk to you now. As you're getting for a launch, what would you say are your major needs now? And we have many in the audience who could help with distribution, investments, R&D, etc., as we were highlighting earlier. What are your top asks?
So yeah, I think I just can't stress enough on distribution for one. I think distribution is key for us to sort of rapidly expand the business, and that's what we'd like to focus on. I think the other thing which is very important is to have a very good team in place, at the center of things. So I know it for a fact that now there are a lot of young professionals who are quite inclined towards working in this sector because of the larger impact and the altruistic element that this sector intrinsically has. So I think for all the young professionals, in fact, if you want to work, in a very dedicated and a very mission aligned manner, then we guys are looking for you. So that's I think another one. And I think if the first two things are taken care of, and the company sort of and the brand sort of stays true to its initial concept, then I think the third, which is investment and funds at the right time, are already taken care of. I think that's
Yeah.
how I'd like to go about it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for the insightful answer, Gaurav. And as you mentioned, there are people. So if anyone in the audience, would like to reach out to Gaurav, or Gaurav, if you would like to reach out to anyone in the audience who would help grow, please feel free to use this platform or also any other platforms like LinkedIn, emails, etc.
Sure.
Akanksha, similar question to you too. You and Prateek have hired a team, created some prototypes, and are busy setting up your facilities. How can our audience and the community help you so that the entire ecosystem would benefit?
Okay, Siddharth, please permit me to give you a little long answer to this short question of yours. When we go to the supermarkets in the West, there's a complete aisle of plant based meats or milks you get to see. People are aware about the segment, they accept and identify with the new innovations which are happening in the space. On the other hand, in India, the market is only just the beginning. It's just beginning to take form, I would say. There's a long way to go in creating awareness among masses and creating a certain level of acceptability also for them. New innovations are continuously coming up, and the audience are here today to help us spread the word about plant based products, its diet, and the advantages which are associated with them. They are, if I, there is a cross section of people in the audience ranging from scientists, technologists, influencers, opinion makers, regulators, and marketers, apart from, of course, consumers. All of them could contribute their bit in, taking this fledgling sector to its next orbit altogether. For example, we need to work a lot on developing and standardizing processing of utilizing our local crops, local raw materials, in making them highly functional protein products that could enhance the quality of our products. At the same time, help us penetrate in the markets faster and better. Our academia as well should also focus on the sunrise sector in the capacity build, in the capacity building, so that we have the right talent pool to create the innovations rapidly. There should be a 360-degree effort, I would say, to develop this promising space. Everybody should do something in this field from their own expertise. Also, I believe a lot more companies and entrepreneurs, when they would enter this space, they would see a lot bigger growth coming out steadily. And we at BWED, with open arms, would do our best to support this sector and offer our plant-based manufacturing unit to, set up to unleash all the opportunities in this segment, so that a lot of entrepreneurs don't have to invest in their own setup, in their own extruder, in their own downstream equipments, while we will be more than happy to help them out with their R&D, with their scaling up. So that's the idea, and that's the kind of people we're looking for, to summarize it. For this purpose also, we're conducting a consumer survey, and I would really appreciate if the audience could just spare 2 minutes of their time to fill the same. It would help us get better insights of our products and to build this ecosystem better. Thank you.
Thank you, Akanksha, for that very insightful answer. And as you know, our goal at the Good Food Institute India is also to enable this ecosystem. And we have a lot of projects actually going on in the initiatives that you mentioned, working with the university ecosystems to develop talent, working to get our indigenous crops out in the market to develop supply chains. So looking forward to working with you and the entire ecosystem to get this ahead.
Sure.
Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you, Akanksha. So, Abhishek, moving to you, I think our audience would love to hear your predictions for the plant-based ecosystem over the next few years and where Good Dot is going from here. What do you think our protein supply will look like 5 years from now, and what kind of partnerships are you seeking that will help us get there?
Sure, Siddharth. Actually, all of us are seeing the future is here, right? And of course, it will take time for it to live up to its potential. But I can say for sure, India is, as I said initially, India is a dark horse of the space. India has just woken up. There is a very strong and huge latent demand which will manifest itself in the next 2 to 3 years. And you will see not just India, Indian products will also move out internationally because of we have a different of course we have started with the likes of the bigger companies in the US and Europe. They have started out with burgers and sausages that works exceptionally well in those countries, but a lot of countries in Asia, Africa, they eat meat in a different format largely. So those solutions will be coming, and we already have those solutions. I think it's a time for the segment to go out. We have a great manpower. We have great skill sets out here, and we also have a great agricultural economy. So you will see, as you said, diversification of the protein sources, which will be more indigenous also, because we have just scratched at the few protein, the soy, the wheat, the pea, and maybe now chickpeas, fava beans. Those are coming up, but I think most of mung bean, of course, is an Indian lentil which has really gone mainstream. But there are so many others remaining. So there will be huge. I think that is where the Ministry of Agriculture, the science and technology can come in and really take the base protein part. I think that is going to be very key. And we can be the back-end manufacturing hub of the global. You have seen China being the manufacturing hub of all the automation. India can be the agricultural hub if we put our minds to it. We have that. We have the great talent. We have a great market, and we have a great pool of people. So as you are seeing, you have seen, GFI India has done a great job. You have seen how so much of excitement is coming in, so much of mainstreaming of interest is coming in. So that's only going to go ahead. In terms of Good Dot, we are definitely, this is the next couple of years will be our year of really, flying out. And this year, we have opened, 3 international markets. In the next 1.5 months, you will see our products in those markets. And we have received, in all the major Western markets, also we have received great response. So apart from India, we'll also be going out of India. And already those products, we'll hear about those announcements pretty soon. So I think similar other companies have also the similar potential. They just need to reach out to the right people and go ahead with that. So it is going to be a very exciting time, and we have not even scratched the surface. So I think we are in for a boom time.
Thank you, Abhishek, and really insightful answer for all our audience over there to, utilizing the diversity what we have in India, establishing India as a manufacturing hub for India and also for global markets. And Abhishek, we are very excited about Good Dot's launch in other countries too. So let's move to the audience Q&A section now and take up a few questions from the audience. I would request the host to start sharing the questions. Okay, so we have a question from Shubham, and this is to you, Abhay. What's your view on FSSAI not allowing plant-based milk to be marketed as milk?
Thanks, Siddharth. I mean, luckily it hasn't happened yet. So, and we've submitted our responses. I think, especially India, given its rich history with plant-based milks, growing up, I'm a Kannadiga, and tengina halu was a really popular ingredient in many dishes that my family used to make. And tengina halu translates to coconut milk in Kannada. And there's, gase gase halu, which is poppy seed milk. There's a bunch of local recipes that have existed for centuries that use plant-based milks in ways that don't confuse customers. I think the regulator's job is to ensure that no customers are misled, and fundamentally plant-based dairy isn't misleading. It is just an entirely new product that needs its own set of regulations. For example, if milk is if there are very different parameters to test milk in terms of how good it is, SNF, fat content, etc. The beverages, for example, have different parameters to in terms of testing quality and so on. I think plant-based dairy is at this confluence where you can build these products from the ground up. You can add your proteins, you can add your vitamins, you can add your fat, you can add thickener, starch, gums, etc. And you can essentially create products that are very functional by going from a very bottoms-up approach, and that requires new regulations, and not to be confused with imitating milk or misleading consumers, but rather creating an entirely new way for consumers to experience dairy, and one that already has precedence in India. What I'm also worried about is if tomorrow the regulator bans using the word milk to describe plant-based milks, there is precedence now to banning plant-based meat companies from using the word meat. And you'll be faced with situations. I think I read this ridiculous article where some country wanted to call plant-based burgers as plant-based discs and plant-based sauces as plant-based tubes. And it actually is to the detriment of the consumer, who everybody is trying to benefit. So that's my slightly large answer to that question.
No, that's very insightful and relevant, Abhay. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on it, on how we should proceed with the regulations around plant-based products. The next question is from Manjari, and her question is a common question for all the panelists on the panel today. Who do you consider as your target audience? Is it vegans? Is it flexitarians? And why?
Can I answer that?
Sure, Akanksha.
Sure. I would say I'm not going to specifically target flexitarians or vegans. I would rather target everyone out there, be it flexitarians, vegans, or vegetarians, because what product we're talking about is a high protein product. And essentially, if I talk about the Indian market, a majority of Indian people are protein deficient. So our product would be, I'm talking about myself, and I can probably vouch for the other plant-based products as well. They are good with high level of protein. So I think it's mandate for everybody out there to consume our products if they're looking for good high level of proteins, not specifically flexitarians or vegans or vegetarians per se.
Great. Thank you, Akanksha. Abhishek, Gaurav, do you want to add on to that?
So basically, as far as we are concerned, we are very much, driven from the ethics point of view. Good Dot is all about, welfare of animals. Of course, there are externalities like environment, health, and other stuff. So for that reason, we are targeting meat eaters pretty strongly, and we are benchmarking our products to be at meat and probably in the future even go better than meat. So our target audience is pretty clear. We have a great support from vegans and vegetarians, more so from vegans. I think vegetarians, I think those who are lifelong vegetarians, for them, trying out something which is very close to meat is a bit of a challenge initially. Once they get used to it, then the taste grows on them. But those are the more high-hanging fruits, so to say. I think we are going after meat eaters, and of course, with full support of vegans for sure.
Can I
Thank you,
add to that,
Abhishek.
Siddharth?
Yeah, sure, Abhay.
I mean, I'd love to echo Abhishek here. I think it's a bit of a nuanced answer in terms of are you looking at market size or are you looking at your most loyal users? I think for us, our most loyal advocates have always come from within the vegan community because they're very mission driven. But that could be the first 1,000, 10,000 users. And then the rest of the country isn't vegan. The rest of the country probably isn't even vegetarian. So it's flexitarians for the larger market to go after. I think in terms of who we want to we value everybody as users. I think today, at this point, our most loyal advocates happen to be vegans. But I think in the future, we really want to preach to preaching to the choir is the idiom that I wanted to use here. But we really want to go after getting flexitarians to consume more plant-based dairy, which is of course the larger market that exists.
I'd just like to add one more thing here from a very personal experience. So, my mother, who's been a vegetarian by birth, I used to take a few of our products to my home and, ask her to taste it. Now, for all the love that she has in the world for her son, she would just point blank refuse to have them just because I used to, tell her that, Ma, this is like a burger patty which will taste just like chicken meat. So she used to be like, I am not comfortable that way. However, we've noticed that you slightly change the positioning of the product. Now I take the kebabs and the kebabs have grown so much on her that it's one of her favorite snacks. And believe you me, it's actually a product which tastes completely like a, chicken-based shami kebab. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that there is a reason why people are hooked onto meat. Meat is an addictive product. So I think if we are able to build it in, and I think then even vegetarians are a very probable consumer, because we shouldn't forget that, as Akanksha said, I think that we shouldn't forget that in India, I think protein is a large underlying growth driver, and people are always on the lookout for good quality protein.
Thank you, Gaurav. And these are all great points, right? I mean, we are addressing, trying to reduce the consumption of meat by offering alternatives which have the exact texture, exact flavor for that market. At the same time, we are also targeting a market, which wants clean protein, better quality protein. So, we are all looking forward to products by each of your respective companies out there to offer to people in India and abroad. So I think we are out of time. So we are going to stop the Q&A here, and we are going to go towards ending this panel. Firstly, I would like to thank our panelists, Abhishek, Abhay, Akanksha, and Gaurav, for being with us here today and sharing with us your valuable perspectives and learnings. Any final thoughts that you have for our audience on the smart protein sector, and or how they can reach out to you for potential collaborations? And we can start with you, Akanksha.
I guess me and my entire team we are there on LinkedIn, and you can connect me via GFI as well. We'll be more than happy to collaborate with ingredient partners, entrepreneurs, machinery partners. In our venture forward, we'll be more than happy to connect. So you can connect us through LinkedIn. My name is Akanksha Ghai, and through GFI as well, because they have got all the contacts for us. we'll be more than happy to collaborate together.
Thank you, Akanksha. Abhay, any thoughts?
So I want to leave with some predictions here. I think specifically with plant-based dairy, I think the entire industry is shifting from a hero ingredients view to more of a functional view. I think earlier soy milk, almond milk, coconut milk, etc. The primary selling point of these products, whether they were made with either soy or almonds or coconut, the hero ingredient being very prominent. I think Good Milk has been one of the few companies that have moved away from this approach, trying to optimize for function and being ingredient agnostic rather than focusing on certain hero ingredients. I think that is going to change the direction of working with whatever is available, whatever is functional, and then creating hybrid products that have better functional properties. And especially India, where there are so many agricultural inputs, so many grains that haven't even, so many grains, pulses, millets, etc., that haven't even been tested yet. I think the potential for coming up with products that push the bar on how close we can get to the taste, texture, feel, flavor of dairy is the potential is so high. And that's sort of the prediction / request that I leave to our audience with this. Let's look at more function versus having hero ingredients that have already been tried and tested before to limited success.
Got it. Thanks, Abhay. And the best way to reach out to you would be via LinkedIn, apart from this platform for our audiences.
Certainly, and my email is abhay@goodmilk.in. I've sent this message here. I'm not sure if it's reached all our audience viewing, but abhay@goodmilk.in is my email. Always happy to talk to more people. Siddharth.
Thank you, Abhay. Gaurav, any parting thoughts on how people can reach out to you?
I think we guys are, our major focus is on distribution and team building. So I think that's what we will be looking at. So anybody who's interested in helping us do that, please reach out to us. I'm available on LinkedIn. GFI, is somebody who's like a fairy godmother. So your mothers keep the families intact. So GFI is that godmother who keeps the whole plant-based ecosystem together. So I think anybody who would want to reach out could do that through them too.
Thank you, Gaurav, for the kind words. And also, audiences, please reach out to Gaurav. Abhishek, any parting thoughts? How can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me we have our website called info@goodbot.in. So whatever your queries, requests, suggestions, please reach out to us and the relevant team will address that. And also it's a very exciting field. I'm sure whoever are attending it are really curious people who have those technical background or at least the interest area. It's a great space. There are a lot of gaps. Like we are filling some of the gaps. It is unfilled. There's so many other gaps also. Look for those. There are a lot of cues coming from the Western markets. Take them, implement it in Indian setting, customize it as per Indian requirements. I think you're in a good place. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Abhishek. Want to thank all the panelists again for your wonderful insights, and we look forward to working with you in building this ecosystem. I would also like to thank our entire audience today for your presence at the Smart Protein Summit 2020. And please stay connected via the Smart Protein Summit platform. And please stay tuned to, as we have a lot of interesting sessions lined up for you, with our next session where my colleague Nicole Roque will be talking to cultivated meat and fermentation-based startups in India and their innovations in this space. Thank you.
Thank you.